So we're calling this deal, this is Tom and Alice. You guys saw their picture, beginning of this short little video. This is their 2-for-1 deal. So this is kind of the house that's at the front of the lot.
So, hi guys, we are with Tom and Alice Jenkins, and we happen to be in just over kind of the Illinois border in Indiana. And we wanted to I wanted to come here and make a short video of one of their properties, but more importantly, kind of what they're doing with real estate. So we'll kind of start from there, and I think this should be a inspirational as well as an educational thing in terms of what they're doing with their own real estate. So guys, welcome.
Thank you.
So the reason I wanted to have you guys was that we want to talk about different people, different walks of life, and why we do what we do. So I guess we'll just start from the very beginning, is why are you guys investing in real estate?
We're investing in it because we feel like it's the way to fix the retirement problem.
Okay, so what was the retirement problem?
The retirement problem was that there wasn't any.
Okay, both of you guys have good jobs.
She has more of one than I do.
Okay.
In my career field in healthcare, you rarely stay long enough to accumulate that. That's just a sad fact. We've lived in 9 different states, and I've had probably that many employers, and you know, it takes 4 or 5 years to build up your eligibility, etc. So it just never fell together. So we began to look several years ago for the thing that would help us do that and not have to rely on the employer plan or to rely necessarily on Social Security.
Okay.
So real estate fit that model.
Okay, got it.
So about 2013 was, or 2014 actually
2014.
was the spring, we took a course. We took a course with a different group that was relatively expensive. We got a lot of knowledge, but we didn't get much practical hands-on. And so we began our adventure with a lot of education, but no resources, no local resources, no help, no feet on the ground, if you will. And we began our process of feeling our way around. And wholesaling was the exit strategy that we chose because we felt like financially that was probably the easiest way for us to get into it.
So it's like a lot of other people, right? A lot of information, kind of all over the place.
Right.
And then it's like, well, you could do wholesales, right? What Tom said, it's kind of interesting because a lot of times we see this happen all the time. People will come to real estate for a specific purpose, and the goal is, I'm going to go down to Houston, Texas. Yet we get on the road and there's no specific roadmap as to which turns to take. So you're like, well, you know, as long as I'm heading south, I think somehow I'm going to get down there, right? And you have no idea, right? And people will do wholesales, they'll do flips, and then every month you hear somebody new talk about something new, and you're like, oh my God, that sounds so exciting, because it's fresh in your mind, and you make a jump. But you guys have stuck to wholesaling for the last 2-3 years, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what were the kind of the results in terms of why did you come to Chicago area, right? And then say, okay, wait a minute. We already are doing something that's working, right? Because in most circles, you guys would be considered successful, right? In real estate, because you have managed to successfully wholesale deals. And it's something that I think should be appreciated, congratulated, because 99% of people just bomb. That's just the reality of life. But why did you start kind of change your mindset and start thinking the way we do? What is the reason for that? And we happen to be, the reason we're here, kind of in a darkish, older looking house, is because we happen to be smoke-filled room because we happen to be at one of your properties.
Right, exactly.
And
which we would have wholesaled by now.
Right. So what was the reason? What was happening with the wholesale strategy versus, and then I want to kind of talk about today.
Well, the wholesale, as you said, is one bite and you're done. You know, it's there's nothing much after that. And granted, we're working full time, and it fit that situation because.
So you were working full time, both of you,
Right.
and then on top of that, you were doing wholesale.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Got it. About how many wholesales have you guys done?
Last year, we really began to get traction, I'd say, in late 2016, early 2017. Last
Okay.
year, we finished with, I think, 8 transactions.
8 deals.
Eight
It's
transactions,
great.
yeah.
It's great. Okay. And
Uh,
on an average, what were you making per deal?
Anywhere from, I'd say, 1,500 to the largest was 12.5.
$1,500?
Yeah.
Well, it was, we passed it on to someone else
That
pretty
was,
quickly, and we did the
yeah.
deal with the end buyer.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And so we were basically
was
the final
easier-
bid.
easier
That was
for
So
the end
1,500 to about 12,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what-
Right,
So
yeah.
6,000-7,000 would be
Yes.
about
Right,
average.
right.
Okay, got it. So now, there's a lot of people that get stuck in that rut, and there's nothing wrong with it. You're making money, obviously, right? It's great. But why start looking at the way we think about things, right? We think about things in building wealth, which is 2 years, 5 houses, get them paid off in 7, or 2 years, 10 houses, get them all paid off in 7 or 20 or 30, right?
Right.
Instead of wholesale properties that you don't want, keep everything else, right? If you have to do a flip, once in a while do a flip.
True.
But wholesale stuff that you do not want, but never give up something that is pure gold, because that's for you to keep. That's the basic philosophy we've built our businesses on, right? So what was the change in mindset? Was it the 3-day, was it mastery, what was it?
Yeah, we began to visit your programs, a year and a half ago.
So you started coming
Well, it
to
was a year
Chicago?
ago.
Yeah, we went to Tinley Park was close and
The Chicago Rehab
yeah, we
meetings.
picked up Chicago Rehab meeting. And it was during that piece that we began to see, no, there's more to this. We've had, thousands of dollars of expense learning to do this, and yet instinctively we knew that this is not all there is. I mean, there's more to this than just kiss and make up, there gotta be something else. So we said, this
And the
sounds
3-day
like-
was coming
and
up.
the 3-day was coming up. We said, piece of cake, we're gonna go do that. And that's when the light bulb went off for us that said, okay, now we have, it's like the Bible says, you look through a glass darkly and then face to face. We'd been looking through the glass of wholesaling very darkly.
Yeah.
We said, no, this is, okay, I now know after your 3-day, and then the mastery program was really the one that put it over the edge, because by the time we finished that, we had every tool that we needed to walk into a place like this and say, yeah, you could wholesale it real quick probably, and then let's look further and say, well, what's it take to make it better? And then it's a matter of good, better, best, which is a philosophy that I've had in my workplace as an administrator for decades, telling the staff, don't just settle for what's good, settle for what you can improve. And with the tools that we got into mastery, it was now I got it. Now
It's kind of interesting, because you could have wholesaled it, made $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000,
Yeah.
right?
Easy.
And now, piece of cake, right? That you could have done all day long.
Oh, I look back on the ones we gave away.
Yeah.
And
I wish we still had.
Well, we look at it through that lens because we realize, dang, we could have fixed that. We could have gotten other folks involved, fixed it up and sold it for a much larger profit than $4,000.
But we didn't know how to put the pieces
Didn't know how
together.
to do it.
We didn't know how to find the
Mechanics of it
financing.
weren't there.
And we ourselves didn't know how to, we're not hammer and nail kind of people. So we just didn't have all the pieces to put together.
So let's take the last couple deals you've done. Instead of wholesaling it after mastery, we're like, you keep the best ones, the ones that cash flow the most, the ones that are the solid areas, right? You keep, because what you probably realize by now is you could do one wholesale, make $5,000 or $6,000, or you could keep that property, same thing, for a year, and it'll make $5,000 or $6,000, $5,000 or $6,000, $5,000 or $6,000 for the rest of your life, and give it to your kids or grandkids, and they keep making money, right? And it becomes your property, a golden goose, forever, right? So the first property, let's talk about it as an example. What were the numbers like?
That was the one we just finished here in Hammond.
Right.
We closed on it December 21st.
Okay.
Picked it up for $45,000. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath with a full basement.
And a garage.
And a garage, had a separate garage. and it needed this kind of work. It's
Okay.
a replica of this one almost.
Just clean up, paint, updating, touch up, take out carpet, happens to have hardwood floors,
floors
right?
underneath
So the
there.
bones are
Update the
great.
kitchen and the
Updated the
bathroom.
kitchen. We used every tool in the mastery trade book
Right.
in terms of, vendor supplies, and et cetera. We bought it for 45, we put 22 in it. We had budgeted 20, but at the tail end, we realized there was still some stuff we needed. The garage, for example, was shoddy. And I thought, okay, yeah, you could do that. And yet, what is gonna be our corporate mark? What is Good Property Solutions footprint gonna look like going anywhere? And
So
we
your
said,
company's called Good Property Solutions.
That's correct. Good
So
Property
you basically have a standard you want to live by.
Yeah.
We have a standard.
Right.
It could be debated by others, and that's fine, but
Right.
we decided the garage was sick looking and we wanted to fix it, so we redid the garage, re-sided.
Well, the inside looks so great, and it didn't
Yeah.
change the fact that we could rent it. I mean,
Right.
from that philosophy, it was rented, but the
But you wanted
garage
to
door-
have a nice
We wanted it to
property.
We
look
wanted
nice, we
it
wanted
to
it
look
to
nice.
appraise well, and we didn't want to come back and have to fix it later.
Right.
So we went ahead and did the garage, and we went ahead and we're painting the outside.
Okay, so what was that property bought for?
45,
45,000, how much fix up?
22.
22 fix up. You were within your numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're within your numbers. So basically that all-in cost was 65,000,
Yeah.
right? 67,000.
I think so.
What is that property worth?
We had a CMA done by our broker, mid-January, and came out at 120 on that property.
Close to 110.
120.
120.
Yeah.
You do realize, I mean, I hate to say this, right? But it's the truth. It added for most people a good chunk of their paycheck in equity in one transaction that you would have given away.
If we could just wholesale it.
Yeah, if you had just wholesaled it,
Yeah.
right? I mean.
By then,
it's-
we knew it.
Yeah, by then, right. No, but we never, it's interesting how the right properties bought correctly, and everybody's telling us, it's a hot market, we can't find properties, and it's like, guys, if you look, there are properties,
Oh, yeah.
right? And you're finding them, we're finding them every day, right? So so that property, how much will it cash flow?
The rent is 1150. After the mortgage, et cetera, it's about 400 to 450.
Cash flow,
Cash flow.
net cash flow, okay? So plus you have equity, 50,000 equity, obviously, on top of that. How much will this property cash flow?
This is unusual. It has another property in the back together.
So there's two properties?
Well, I can separate them.
Yeah.
This one is a 950 monthly rental, and the back one is 650.
650.
Although I think we'll be able to
I think
rent it for
once we're
11.
So-
done, this will be more.
How much will these cash flow together? let's say?
1,600 minus the mortgage. I think it was about 700 or 800.
700 or 800.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we take these two properties, between the two, that's about close to about $1,000 a month. Easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you add the ones you wholesale before we met, right? I mean, you could have $4,000 or $5,000 coming in, no problem.
Yeah.
For sure, right? But what's exciting to see is this, in the last 2-3 months, what you guys have accomplished, right? Another 6 or 8 of these, it will match most, for two couples who have worked, their social security income, no issue.
Oh, God.
Right, if not more,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's there, and you own the properties, and the properties are paying themselves down.
Right.
So, and I wanted to kind of bring this up, and it's a touchy subject, but I will bring this up.
Sorry.
It's an age issue, is what I really wanted to talk about. Right? No, but, I mean, a lot of times people are like, man, at this point, you guys are senior citizens, right? And it's typically, I mean, now we have a lot of people, Miss Christine's the world,
Sure.
Miss Mary, a lot of people who have seen life, and that's how I'll put it, who have seen life maybe more than I have, right? And the whole thing is, well, it's kind of time to wrap it up. It is what it is, we're gonna just manage within what we got, and that's how it is.
Oh.
Yet, you guys have always had good attitude, right? Initially, I know you guys were a bit skeptical that, oh my God, these numbers are real, until you had a complete turnaround, right?
Right.
But why? How do you guys manage that? Rather than just saying, well, this is just how life is, and this is all I'm gonna ever make.
We've never been that way. We met working
That's never been
together.
our fabric, no. Age is relative. My father worked until he was 85 doing fundraising for hospitals and colleges and universities. He died 3 years later, but he was never happier than when he was working.
Right.
And I used to get on, I said, Dad, you cannot mean that. I mean, you just can't get up and say, I can't wait to get to work. He says, yeah, I do. I really do. Don't you? I said, no, I don't, not really. I said, I'm depressed, I hate to go to work. Because what I'm doing is boring, it's meaningless, it doesn't really help people. And that's the other piece that we found, which keeps stoking our furnace, is that by doing this, we're helping people. We're helping the seller here, because he was diagnosed with a fatal medical condition about 6-8 months ago. He needs to get rid of his properties. We're helping the tenant who moves in here because she's going to have a great place to live at a reasonable price.
If we're going to improve the neighborhood.
We're getting this property back on the market for the mayor of Hammond so he can be happy about having investors who really do things, for the city of Hammond.
Right.
So that to me is age irrelevant. It's a philosophy that you either have or you don't have, or you somehow wind up trying to get somewhere along the way. So for us, it was easy to see this as the very obvious, logical way to keep going.
See, but the thing is, when people like you talk, it's like it just seems obvious. It's like, listen, we're all probably, nobody knows when the expiration date is.
Right.
So the philosophy, at least I have, is might as well live it up by that time, right? And the more, that doesn't mean it's all work, no play. But, the old adage is you gotta work your butt off and have fun as we, as we go. So let me get this phone turned off, as we go, right? And which is kind of really good to see. But Ms. Alice, I mean, a lot of people nowadays, right, when we have had you speak at, say, the Chicago Rehab, or at Mass Street, it's inspiring for people. That, oh my God, man, look at Tom and Alice. No, I mean, truly, because they see themselves in you, right? And they're like, oh my God, right? If they can do this, gives me hope, right? I mean, it's something that is, because it's so real, right? I guess, so for you, where are you, because you're doing a lot of the marketing on the front end, right? And then who goes and talks to the seller?
I typically do.
You typically do, right?
And if he's available, Tom will go, but I have a
So you have a more flexible schedule than Tom?
Right.
Mine is
And
fixed.
right.
Okay.
So I typically, I mean, that's my role in my working world is marketing, public relations, advertising, that sort of thing. So it's it's just easy for me to do that.
And you guys don't do very fancy marketing. I mean, let's just be,
we really
this is
don't.
nothing.
We do some mailing,
We're
we do
not
some bandit
elephant
signs.
hunting, no.
I mean, just basic mailings, basic bandit signs,
Right.
but you're consistently doing
We're
that.
consistent with it, and we do a tremendous amount of networking.
Tremendous,
I mean,
okay.
that's how we found this
That's how
house,
we got
is
this one.
where we found 2 others. And then, we're getting some word of mouth,
Okay.
referrals, that kind of thing. So,
Okay, got it.
so we're getting known in the community.
Okay, got it.
We're
And-
also getting referrals from buyers that there are some properties that they can't find the people, they've vanished, and so we do the research, we'll do the skip tracing, and we'll find them. And then those are the kind of properties where we would share with that buyer. So we get referrals from all types of ways.
A guy called us on the way home from the meeting last night. He saw the sign on our car.
And he
Said,
called.
hey,
Yeah.
I've got a fourplex. We're divorcing. I mean,
It's interesting
crazy.
because most people think, right, you have to do very fancy things,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I respected you guys once I found out you guys were doing, wholesales. You guys were actually doing the front end. And I'm like, guys, why eat like, kind of a bite of the steak if you can own the steak, right? I mean, and I think, so let's talk, because that's the other piece. People are, well, Andrew, you don't understand, where do I get the money, right?
Right.
I mean, so this is the other difficult question, right? At this point in your life, right, as you get more gray hair, you're supposed to have all the money squared away, everything squared away. Now, you guys had a little bit
Oh, sure.
squared away,
Yeah.
but the reason you're doing real estate is because you're like, no, we really want to secure our future, right? And it's that catch-22 that we have this much, we want to grow it to this much. How do we get there, right? And so in Mass Street, we said there's so many people right here that will give you loans, right? And now you found out that even friends, people who you were friends with, are suddenly willing to do partnerships with you. They're willing to do deals, right? So was that a lack of confidence, or you guys just didn't know when you, before you started Mastery, that you could actually do these properties, you just needed to know how to borrow the money on the front end and pay it back?
We were aware that people would certainly loan money and create more wealth in terms of they would be able to get interest, 10,
Right.
12, whatever percent. We were aware of that, but we couldn't believe that.
How simple it would be.
Well, and that someone would trust that we could do the property,
Right.
that we had the ability, that we were first timers, and that they would loan their hard-earned money to us and trust that we would be able to execute the project. And after we attended Mastery, we knew that we did have that ability, and
That there were
began to
people,
feel
that was the reality.
confident.
We had read about it for years. Oh, you can borrow money. And I was like, "Whoa, nobody's gonna do that." To me, it won't work. And then, bingo, there it is. Right
And
next to it.
the interesting part, the funny part is, right, like yesterday we just had an extra meeting for Mastery. There's 30, 40 people in the class, right, that easily can lend another $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 each.
Sure.
Right? And the exciting thing is that they're excited about lending because they make a nice return, right? And they want to do 2, 3, 4 deals once they've done one with you. Why? Because then it's great. They refinance one, they pay me the money back, I do it over again, and over again, and over again. And on top of that, they can do investing. And the fun part is that a lot of people who have money to lend, right, they can look at your properties and learn, right? It goes both ways. So I guess my thing as we wrap this up, right, is what about that person says, well, it works for Andrew, it works for Rahul, it works for Mary, it works for 3, 4, 500, 800 other people. And now it suddenly works for these two people, right? For Tom and Alice. What about me? What do you say to that person? Does it require work? Does it require effort? And what do you say to that person that is their hope, I guess?
Well, I would ask them, okay, having said what you just said, it'll work for you, but you obviously have doubt about it working.
Right.
And then how do we overcome your doubt? Well, you're going to have to be the driver of how you overcome your own doubt. I can talk to you all day, and Alice can talk to you, we can show you, but until you flip the switch between your ears that says, I'm going to try this, and I know I have help doing it, then you're right, it won't work. Henry Ford, was it Henry Ford Henry Ford once said, the man who says he can't and the man who says he can are both right. Where do you want to be? Is it about half full? Is it half empty? All sorts of analogies. For us, it was a matter of, it went off because it did trigger between the ears. We could see the mechanics of what your program does for people. All you have to say is, sign me up, coach, I'm ready to go. And you will take them there. Now, if they don't want to get that, then that's their problem.
But if you do everything
You've
like you
shown them-
have pointed out and in the Mastery program,
Right.
and that's what we did. We decided that we were dumb enough to be rich. There's a guy who wrote a book,
Bill Barnett.
Are You Dumb Enough to Be Rich? And so we looked at each other and said, we are finally dumb enough to be rich. We are going to follow what he says.
Well, what is interesting is this, right? And we've found this regardless of age, regardless of, I think it's a person thing,
Yeah.
right? That in life, it's good to be, one person is, a skeptic. One person, it doesn't matter what you show them, empirical proof, they're never going to, their just attitude is that, the glass is half empty. That's just their attitude. It's just saying, oh my God, there's a well in the grass, I'm gonna have this nice drink and go fill it up again. And basically be able to feed the whole village type of thing, that mentality. But I think, and the other part of it is, a lot of times what happens is, we've all had experiences where our hopes were up, and then they were crushed. Maybe we didn't execute, maybe it wasn't the right help, but people who are resilient they realize we have no other choice for all of us. We have to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. But I think if there's empirical proof that this works, I mean, in the Chicagoland area, especially Mastery, the success rate is like so high, right? I mean, we're 85, 88% success rate, about 320, 330 people at this point with 3,000 plus houses in 3.5 years, right? So it's like there's no more you can show. But at some point, I think it's an attitude type of issue, which you guys have clearly demonstrated, right?
Yeah, we are thrilled.
So,
I mean, we couldn't be happier with the success.
The tools that we have now, if I were a bow and arrow hunter, I would feel confident knowing I have every arrow in my quiver that I need to take on any animal out here.
Right,
Prior to that process, we did not. We only had one arrow,
right.
and that was the wholesale arrow.
Yeah, and that's it.
And that's it. That's all we had.
We figured that one out.
And we figured that out, and we still do it, you know, but the beauty of this thing is that you can do it, and you can work full-time. Those who think you can't do it and work full-time need to smarten up, because you can do it full-time.
Right.
We're living examples of that now. And the real question is, do you want to do it?
Do you want to?
That's it.
Yeah. No, but see, here's the fun, what is exciting is this. Literally, if for the next couple of years, literally 2.5 years, if you guys just keep this pace, you know, 2 at a time, 2 at a time, 2 at a time, at 10 or 12 properties, 15 properties, you will have enough income, right? That even if something happens, I mean, as you get older, at some point, something's gonna happen to somebody. It's just how it is, right? Still, you literally can go to the good Lord knowing that your other spouse is taken care of. And once something happens to them, you know you've contributed a good amount to your kids or your grandkids, whatever the case may be, to their, and left a legacy, right? And that's,
Having a legacy is so important.
We had looked
like
for that for years with other businesses and and it just never fell together. It just was not there. It didn't line up. It didn't make sense. It wasn't translatable until now.
right. No, and I mean, it's kind of interesting, we laugh about this. I'm like, guys, think about this, right? What if we met in 2012?
Oh.
I mean, it's a sick thought, right? You'd have numbers like the Reggies and the Rahuls, the ones
Yeah.
at 50, 60, 70, 80, I mean, literally,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you'd literally be playing Monopoly with these houses. So, but anyways, I wanted to kind of come and record. I think this will be inspirational, and it'll put a different twist that you can do, have a full-time job, do two or three houses at a time, and literally in a 2-year period, build phenomenal wealth.
The goal is to replace the income.
Right.
And as your model says, if you did it and averaged about 800 of cash flow and then put that aside, we're at a point because of the age factor that we're going to need that to live
Sure.
on. So it's more like 400.
Right.
But okay, fine. The property is still ours.
Right.
We didn't give up anything. We're just living on some of the cash flow.
Yeah.
That's going to replace the income.
Right.
And so we have mapped it out using your lifestyle model
Yeah.
thing. And we know that it's about 18 to 20 properties.
20 properties.
Boom.
You know, and we talk, and this is the funny part, right? We talk about people having 10, 15, 20, 18 properties, like it's hotcakes.
Yes.
Right, I mean, literally it's like buying donuts.
Yeah.
You know? But, I mean, if you follow that formula,
That's
right, it's simple, right? And you guys have picked an area which is a nice bread and butter area, not very fancy by any standards,
No, it's-
right? It's a very bread and butter area, and there's plenty of inventory available, good quality inventory available, correct?
Yes.
So, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure,
Our
and we're excited.
Our
Oh,
pleasure.
we're thrilled.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Definitely.